You know, finding new medicines, it's one of the biggest, most expensive challenges out there. But what if we could totally change the speed of discovery? Well, today, we're going to dive into a platform that was built to do exactly that. Let's get right into it. So, just look at this number. $305 billion. That's not the budget for some space mission. That's the annual healthcare cost in the US alone for just one disease, Alzheimer's. It's staggering, right? And it really shines a spotlight on a massive bottleneck. The way we've always found new drugs is just painfully slow and incredibly expensive. We desperately need a faster, smarter way to do this. And that's what we're going to explore right now.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll tackle the drug discovery maze and the computational roadblocks. Then, we'll get to the good stuff, the BioDockify breakthrough. We're going to peek inside its intelligent engine, see how it uses AI to build confidence, and wrap up with how this all accelerates discovery in a big way.
All right, first things first. To really get why the solution is such a big deal, we have to understand the problem. And I mean the sheer scale of the problem. See, bringing a new drug to market, it's not a straight line, not even close. It's more like this incredibly complex, high-stakes maze. This timeline, wow, it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? We're talking about a process that can easily take 15 to 17 years, from that first light bulb moment to a final FDA approval. And every single stage costs a fortune and has this huge risk of just failing. But you know what's really key? Those super early stages, where scientists are just trying to find promising molecules. That part is absolutely crucial. Because if you get that wrong, all those millions of dollars and years of hard work, they just go right down the drain.
So let's zoom in a bit on that critical early stage. Nowadays, researchers use computers to try and predict how a drug might work, which sounds great, right? But the thing is, this whole digital approach has been stuck in its own kind of frustrating logjam for a while.
This right here, this is the daily grind for so many researchers. They're constantly juggling a bunch of disconnected tools, shelling out tons of money for proprietary software, and often need access to supercomputers just to run their models. I mean, just setting up a single experiment can take weeks of painful manual configuration. And the data? It ends up scattered everywhere. There's no single source of truth. It's just a fragmented, inefficient, and honestly an exhausting way to work.
But this is where the story starts to change. All that chaos and frustration we just talked about, well, it created the perfect opportunity for a totally new way of thinking.
And it all starts with a really simple but powerful question. What if it was all in one place? What if you could take that entire messy, complicated workflow and just unify it? And what if you could make it smart, seamless, and easy for pretty much anyone to use?
Well, this is the answer, BioDockify. First off, it's a cloud-native platform. That means you can tap into all its power from a regular laptop, not some giant server room. It's also AI-powered, which means it makes smarter, more accurate predictions. And here's the kicker. It brings that whole workflow together, from the first simulation all the way to the final analysis, into one single, easy-to-use system.
So you're probably wondering, how does it actually work? What's the secret sauce here that makes its predictions so good? Well, it all comes down to a really unique, multi-layered approach to its main job, which is something called molecular docking. Let's break it down.
Okay, this is pretty cool. The best way to think about the engine inside BioDockify is like a team of 3 different experts working together. You've got the physicist, who's super meticulous. Then you've got the AI specialist, who's all about insights. And finally, you have the decision maker who has the final say. So let's meet this expert team. First up is our physicist. This is a really trusted industry-standard tool called BioDockify, and its job is basically to do all the initial heavy lifting. It looks at a drug and its target and calculates all the possible ways they could bind together, all based on the fundamental laws of physics and chemistry. It just generates a huge list of all the possibilities.
Okay, next on the team is the AI specialist. This is a deep learning model called GINA. It takes every single one of those possibilities that the physicist came up with and then uses its powerful pattern recognition to rescore them. It's looking for these subtle clues that a normal method might completely miss to figure out which interactions are the most likely to actually work in the real world. And finally, to make the final call, we have the decision maker. This is another kind of AI, a random forest model. Think of it like a committee chair. It takes all the input from the physicist and the AI specialist, weighs all the evidence, and then makes a final, robust decision based on everything. And this is so important. You're not just getting one expert's opinion, you're getting a powerful consensus from the whole team.
Okay, so whenever you bring AI into science, there's always a little bit of skepticism, right?
And honestly, there should be. How can we really trust what it's telling us? Well, BioDockify was designed to tackle that question head-on by focusing on transparency and validation.
And this brings us to the biggest, most common question about AI. Is it just a black box? You know, something that spits out an answer without giving you any clue how it got there? Because let's be real, if you can't understand why the AI made a certain prediction, you can't really have true scientific confidence in it.
BioDockify's whole approach is basically the exact opposite of a black box. Instead of just giving you a single number with no context, it gives you this really rich analysis. It uses a cool technique called SHAP, which stands for Shapley Additive Explanations, to show you exactly which parts of the drug molecule are doing the heavy lifting, which ones are most important for its success. It's more of a glass box approach. You get the what, but you also get the why.
And you know what? This multi-expert team method isn't just more transparent, it's also measurably more accurate. Just look at this data from a peer-reviewed study. A single AI model on its own is pretty good, almost 89% accurate. But the method BioDockify uses, that stacked team approach, it pushes the accuracy up to over 91%. And in the world of drug discovery, that 2.5% difference, it's huge.
But wait, there's more. The platform adds yet another layer of scientific proof. Think of it like a virtual stress test. It runs these things called molecular dynamic simulations to see if the drug actually stays stuck to its target over time in a more realistic simulated environment. And getting a stable result here, well, that's powerful, physics-based evidence that the AI's prediction was right on the money.
So let's recap. We've got a unified platform. It has an intelligent AI engine that's both transparent and validated. So what does this all actually mean for the scientists who are doing this work every single day?
Well, it really empowers this whole new wave of innovators. We're talking about academic researchers, PhD students, small biotech startups, R&D scientists, basically anyone who's been held back by how expensive and complicated the old tools were. Now they have this incredibly powerful but accessible platform to test their best ideas and do it quickly and affordably.
And this is the bottom line, the ultimate impact. The platform is so accurate that it could potentially cut down the amount of physical, in-the-lab testing needed by up to 95%. I mean, just think about that for a second. Instead of manually testing thousands and thousands of different compounds, researchers can zero in on only the handful that are most likely to work. That's a massive, massive savings in both time and money. And what that really means is we can get new medicines to the people who need them faster than ever before.
You know, this tagline just says it all, doesn't it? Dock, simulate, analyze, discover, faster. By pulling all these complicated steps into one smooth workflow, BioDockify isn't just a small improvement, it's a fundamental change. It's a way to accelerate the entire discovery process. And that really leaves us with a big, important question. What incredible new breakthroughs are we going to see, now that the speed of discovery can finally start to catch up with the urgency of disease?